Sometimes the easiest food and recipes to make are the ones that we never try, like this fast and easy homemade bread recipe. Some simple techniques and a little love and finesse, not everybody who eats from your kitchen will get the wow factor. Not just from this recipe, but from all the others on this channel. Homemade is becoming the true winner with health and money benefits. Considering food prices are on the rise with no let up in sight, this bread can be used for sandwiches, bread and butter, soup, dry it out for breadcrumbs, you name it. It can be done with this bread. So let's hop into this video and tap into our homemade skills. Let's start with the yeast. We will need 1 packet of active dry yeast, approximately 2 1/4 teaspoons. If you know your yeast conversion, you can use cake yeast, which is my favorite, or instant or rapid rise yeast. Another day in video, we'll go over the different types of yeast and conversions. Let's start with warm water, 1 3/4 cups between 100 to 110 Fahrenheit, then add the yeast, 1 tablespoon of sugar, mix. We will let this sit for 10 minutes. If your yeast is nice and foamy after that time, then it's still good. If not, it could be out of date and it might be time to buy another batch. Let's weigh out the other ingredients while this yeast activates. Next, we will need a 1/2 cup of evaporated milk, 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of salt, preferably kosher or C, 1/3 cup of sugar, 4 tablespoons of melted butter. You could use margarine. It would cut the cost of the bread down, but at the expense of flavor. I don't know, but for me, real butter is a must-need in a lot of food or recipes. Let me ask you this question. Do you eat your pancakes with real butter? How about lobster? And for those that don't eat any of that, sorry to offend you. The ones that understand the taste of butter, you know not to substitute. I've made this recipe with just margarine and it still has the same softness and texture, but just not as flavorful. But if you're using this bread for grilled cheese sandwiches, then it probably won't make much of a difference. Okay, next we're gonna mix all these ingredients together, then measure 4 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour in a big mixing bowl. And let me say this one time only, I always weigh all my ingredients, especially in baking breads or pizza recipes of mine. It is the most accurate way of measurement in cooking. So with that said, measure 560 grams of AP flour. Incorporate the wet ingredients with the flour, stir slowly. Now don't worry, we'll be adding more flour into this, but for now, just stir for about 5 minutes with a wooden spoon. It might get a little tiring. You can use an electric stand mixer, but the majority of people don't have this luxury. I do have one at KitchenAid, but choose to do all my doughs by hand unless it's in bulk for a restaurant or customers. Now we will add 1 tablespoon of canola oil or vegetable oil. To be honest, you could even use olive oil, but it will change the flavor profile. Then add bread flour, a 1/2 cup at a time, fully incorporate. We will use anywhere from 1 cup to 2 cups. Remember, your dough will be very wet. This will have the best outcome. No 2 flours are created equal, so that's why we always say 1 to 2 cups. And for this, you don't have to weigh out. It is more of a feel of your dough. One time you might make it with less or more and adjust accordingly to taste and texture. I use a rubber dough spatula or cutter to mix the dough for 5 minutes on a board. The dough should almost stick to your fingers, but not quite. Place in an oiled bowl, cover with a wet towel or plastic wrap, turn on your oven for 1 minute, then shut off. Place the bowl in the oven to rise until double in size. Let's prepare the bread pans. I use Crisco or Shortening. Generously grease the pans. My favorite is to use butter flavored, but you use as you please. Once the dough has doubled, flour a surface, remove the dough from the bowl. We're gonna push out the air in the dough. Cut the dough into half so that there's 2. Reform the doughs into balls. Don't forget to flour your surface or dough when needed. Then 1 dough at a time, flatten down lightly. We're not looking to use a rolling pin or anything of that nature. Just light pressing down until it shapes like a square. From there, we'll fold one end to the middle, then the other end on top. Fold the ends, place both doughs in the pans, cover with plastic wrap into a warm oven for another hour. Make sure you only have the oven on for 1 minute, then shut off. This acts as a proofer. When the dough is ready, it should be sticking out from the top of the bread pans. Make sure not to overproof, which is where the dough fully rises, then starts to deflate slowly, sort of like a deflating balloon. The dough is ready in the pans, so make sure you have an oven preheated for 370 degrees. Set a timer for 30 minutes, and every time this bread should come out perfect. If after 15 minutes of cooking your bread, you want a lighter crust on top, You can cover the top of the bread with tin foil. The choice is yours. Usually I cover mine, but this batch I didn't, which resulted in a slightly darker top. No matter what, the inside of the bread will always be super soft, like sandwich bread that you buy from the store. Healthier, and you save yourself some money. Plus the bread freezes well, so make a double or triple batch if you have enough pans. Just don't forget to buy yourself some bread bags. Make sure to fully cool the bread on a rack before cutting. In this household, the bread doesn't last long. If you like bread, recipes, pizza, anything with dough, or recipes from A to Z, you're on the right channel. We like to save money, eat healthy, and enjoy our time in the kitchen. I will start leaving links soon to all the equipment I use for cooking on my channel. In the meantime, hit that subscribe button.